In the beginning of the story, we saw that when a USA fighter jet was flying in Afghanistan, suddenly some enemies fired a missile at them. Terry, who was flying the plane, immediately activated the fighter jet's defense system, but unfortunately the missile still hit their jet. The plane was completely out of control, and now there is only one way to survive: to jump down from the plane. Both jumped from their fighter jet without wasting time. A few minutes later, Kate and Terry regained consciousness to find themselves in the middle of the desert of Afghanistan, but before Terry could help the injured Kate, Afghan fighters surrounded them and opened heavy fire on Terry, due to which he was severely injured. Then, as soon as an Afghan fighter approached Terry, Kate suddenly attacked him. He shot that man dead right there with his gun. And with his bravery, he disarmed them. But the troubles did not end here. Suddenly, another Afghani fighter arrived there, and when Kate started firing at him, she realized that his gun has run out of bullets. Perforce, he thought of escaping from there. But before she could be killed by the enemy, Terry gathered courage and shot that Afghan fighter. After this bravery, Terry was counting his last breaths. Kate was completely shattered by this accident. When she went to her partner, Terry apologized to her because he could not get those two out of that difficulty. Meanwhile, the rest of the Afghani fighters saw that their leader was still alive. They also came to know that the army had fled from there. After walking for some time, Kate saw an entire convoy of enemy vehicles from a distance who had surrounded the entire area. Kate immediately decided that staying here was dangerous. Therefore, she ran towards a nearby bunker to hide. But even before reaching the bunker, the enemies spotted him and started furious firing at him. Their leader fired a missile at Kate, but she somehow escaped. Then, as soon as the smoke cleared, Kate saw that the bunker door had opened due to the explosion. Now Kate entered the bunker without wasting a single second. Just then, an enemy came right behind him to the door. Kate shot him down with her pistol. Anyway, after this, Kate saw that she was standing in front of such stairs, which are perhaps hundreds of meters deep. But he had no other option, so he decided to descend. He couldn't understand what kind of place this was, but still she was gradually moving forward. Just then, she heard the sound of enemies approaching from behind. While trying to find a way out, Kate went further inside. Then as soon as she went into a part of the bunker, she smelled a very foul odor. And going a little further, seeing the horrifying sight that appeared before her eyes, she was terribly frightened. In fact, a dead body was lying there in a very bad condition. Not only that, but Kate also found a mysterious device there. Along with it were many papers and records in which the terrible experiments happening here were written about. At that very moment, suddenly heard the sound of enemies approaching, and then Kate immediately threw her light stick away and crouched behind a large pillar. At that very moment, one of the Afghan fighters turned on the generation, due to which light spread all around, and just then a terrible secret was exposed.